Greetings and welcome to ValoU. I'm Zaladrith and I'll be your instructor for today. Today's class is Tactics 110, Gun Out. So thinking about agent abilities for a second, Brimstone Molly does 60 damage per second to enemies that happen to walk over it. But what if I told you that there is an ability that does over 300 damage per second, and that it could even be used at long range? It can potentially even do over 1500 damage per second if you have good mechanics. If that's the case, why would you ever use any other ability if you had an ability that strong? As you may have guessed, every agent has this ability, and I'm talking about the Phantom and Vandal. So unless you know for certain that no enemies can peek you, having your gun out at all times should be your default choice. A lot of players coming from other shooters with grenades might be used to them doing tons of damage, since in those games, they're supposed to be used while in combat as an alternative damage source to gunfire. However, in Valorant, utility like mollies are typically used to stall choke points or clear corners instead of as a true damage source, and are no competition to the reliability and potential damage output of gunfire. A common instinct for new players is to put their gun away in the middle of a gunfight to hurl a molly at an enemy, but if you think about it, the chances that the enemy re-peeks you and shoots you is much higher than the molly actually landing directly on them, and even if it does, they can just strafe off of it, or just shoot you while standing in it, while you leave yourself defenseless redrawing your gun. The only downside of guns as the strongest utility is that you need line of sight in order to deal damage, and if you're in line of sight, then enemies can shoot back at you too. This brings us to when you're allowed to put your gun away, when you're behind cover, breaking line of sight. Most utility in the game can be bounced off walls or otherwise used from behind cover, making it worthwhile to put your gun away for brief moments when you have a specific ability you want to use in mind, before immediately drawing your gun again. Reloading also counts as putting your gun away, leaving you defenseless for 2.5 seconds for the Phantom or Vandal. While it can be stressful to keep track of your ammo, reloading in the open is an extremely common mistake, even giving enemies the audio cue to swing and punish you. While stressful, conserving ammo or even switching to a pistol until you can get to cover to reload is usually the more consistent choice. The other main advantage to putting your gun away is to run faster. Compared to knife running, running with most guns reduces your movement speed by 20%. Even running with utility out reduces movement speed by 10% in most cases. However, if there's a non-zero chance that an enemy peeks you while you're knife running somewhere, you should just consider yourself a goner if you get swung, since drawing a gun takes so long, for instance, a full second for the Phantom or Vandal. Even when fast rotating, if you're not confident in your map control, it's often worth getting to your destination a few seconds later, gun running, than risking auto-losing an unexpected fight. One last reason to put your gun away I don't even really want to talk about, but some people like to draw their knives just to look at the animations. If you're one of these people, it's probably a competitive advantage to break this habit by just removing your knife skin to save yourself needless deaths. Taking out utility or knife while in the open is one of the most common mistakes that people make. Most people learn from mistakes when they get immediately punished for it, but since it's not always punished, it's easy for people to build bad habits drawing knife early when rotating, for instance. One might say, if I don't get punished often, then is it really a problem? However, if you get punished 1 out of 20 times, you could argue that saving less than a single second will make a difference far less often than that. You can also make up that time lost in other ways, but you can't make up for dying. In summary, guns are the strongest abilities in the game, and your default state should be to have your gun out as long as there is a non-zero chance that an enemy peeks you. Most non-gun abilities shouldn't be relied on as a real damage source. Utility and reloading should only be done from behind cover. And knife running should generally only be used when you have the map control to be absolutely certain that no one can swing you. That's all for today's lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the lecturer or the TAs in the comments below. Thanks for attending, and we hope you enjoy your stay here at ValoU.
Okay.
One enemy remaining. Flawless.
Oh, nice job.